All right. Welcome, everybody, all of you, to another Zach's drawings of Cryptid. So let's make some comics, right? So, in case you haven't noticed, I work on an iPad and I make digital comics. And this one is called Cryptid. So, just a little review for everyone who hasn't joined in before. Cryptid is all about the story of the Mothman if he were really lonely and his plight of trying to find, a partner, somebody that identifies with him and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a funny little tale, but it's really something I've been working on for a while, and I'm really excited to get it out in the world. And right now I'm on page 35, I believe. Let's go through. I have all my pages planned out already. And so I'll show you what I did this last time was with page 34. So working with this, before I had just inked the middle panel. And you can see like it's just like a nice quiet gardening scene, but I also finished the top panel as well. Um, I might put a little bit more detail on some of that wood paneling there. You can spot a little ghost. I love putting ghosts in places where you think they might be or might not be. Um, and then of course I finished the bottom three panels as well. So with that being said, you can also see my perspective lines, especially for that middle panel right over there. What I did on the bottom layer, there's three panels, and I left one intentionally blank to let the page breathe. There's a lot going on in the rest of this page, especially like these top two panels are very information heavy. There's some atmospheric perspective going on with them. There's a whole lot happening in those panels. So I wanted one panel to be just like no background. We're just going to work with color in it. And that's really where I wanted to live with this page. So this is the final finished page. Like I said, Cryptid. And we're going to rock onto this next page in here. Next page being page 35. And I've got some of it penciled out, not a whole lot of it. So we'll be doing mostly pencils this time around. So I'll have my handy dandy Apple Pencil ready to rock and roll. I work in Procreate, as you can see. And yeah, that's really it, honestly. I'm going to start penciling these out. I want to make sure real quick, however, that everything looks good before I start up. So you'll have to bear with me for a second. Okay, everything's looking good. Sweet. So I just wanted to make sure I can't see the chat or anything going on the screen here because my what I'm doing is using QuickTime to show my desktop and show my pages. Because before I was filming it with my iPhone, and it was working fine, but like you could also see, when my cat jumps up here and decides to make a mess of everything because that's what he does. He's a cat. So we wanted to try out. Well, I wanted to try out this in this format with without a chat going on. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on it with my iPhone, and we'll see if that works. Thankfully, nobody's on right now, so I don't have to worry about it. So as I'm going out through here, I'm going to swipe up and get out of there. Make sure my headphones are connected so you can hear me. I'm going to start penciling in here. And what I'm using mostly is an HB pencil or a 6B pencil. 6B for the thick lines. HB is going to be used for the searching lines, which is like when I sketch out something. I'll just show you, for example, like I just do contours of the body language. And they should be like Ted's always hunched over a little bit, so I kind of make him as a bow there. Munoz, my other main character always has his chest out. He's a very proud man. And then my little lady, I think she's going to be a little boisterous, so she'll be ready to rock and roll, a little cantankerous. But I always plan out when I'm drawing people the hips first, so it gives me an idea of like where their what their stand's going to be like and all that good stuff. So like I said, hips, torso, a little bit of neck there, a little bit wider there. And I really wanted to pay attention. These little circles over to the left are where my word balloons are probably going to go. So I want to leave enough space for that. And I'm going to have to like leave some space on that top panel as well for a word balloon. So it's really important in comics to like leave that room for your word balloons. Otherwise, you're getting cramped comics and you're going over the art. And you want to do that as little as possible. Every once in a while, like I said, with my ear up there on Ted, it's fine. Not the end of the world. However, I really want to make sure that I've left myself some space for lettering, because that's one of the things that drives me nuts when I see independent comics is like if the lettering is poor. It's like we don't want poor lettering. And believe you me, there's a lot of it. So I'm gonna kind of have him. I was gonna have him floating, but I think I'm gonna have him on the ground in a very awkward position. He rolls about like 8 feet tall, and my one word balloon's gonna go over one of his wings there. But I draw his wings all the time. I'm not really worried about it. And like I said, I'm just using what we call searching lines in animation, where I'm just trying to search out and find the character, um, and find the pose that I'm going for with this character. And I'll keep doing that with an HB pencil because I can just erase a little easier. And there's no problem. There's no shame in erasing if you mess something up. There are folks that are just like, oh, you don't erase. I don't know how you live your life like that, but like if you mess something up, like just erase it. Like, well, that's kind of crazy to me. So I've got my searching lines, and they tend to get pretty messy. Sometimes I'll put another layer on over it just to like clean it up. Um, I'll show you another page, and I'll bring in my searching lines on this page, and you can see like it changes like a very subtle hint of blue, and I'll screw right in. So with this one, I didn't do a whole lot of heavy penciling with the 6B. I just kind of went right into it because I knew exactly how I wanted to render it. And sometimes I'll just do that. Sometimes I'll turn off this layer here. I'll have thicker lines with the pencils. So you can see how I did like these thick lines. So some of them, yes, some of them, no. It's all part of the process. Speaking of process, I jump all over the page when I do these. This page is not going to be very heavy on background. It's going to be heavy on dialogue. So I don't want to put a whole lot of backgrounds in there. That's what the previous page really was for, is to establish that first shot is an establishing shot. And the second shot is another establishing shot. These are the quiet moments that I really like to like reinforce with like almost an aspect to aspect or city to city or planet to planet storytelling, so you know the place where you are. So like on some of the other pages, I don't have to do as much in the background. You already know where you are, you know what's going on in the story and where this is happening. So I wanted to have a little bit more freedom to like zoom my camera in and chat with these folks in a larger capacity, especially like that close up panel. I wasn't going to do her super close up. I was going to have her standing, but I figured a quick zoom in with those squiggly lines to emphasize like, hey, we got to get something done here, you guys. Quit dawdling. And this is after like a pretty big friend fight in the comic. So it's a very it goes from being a very like tender moment of like, hey man, you doing okay? Like it's good to see you again. I'm sorry. To a like, look, we gotta go. Hurry up. So that's where I'm at with this page. Um, this is near the climax of it too. So I want to give her. She's older, right? Quite a bit older. She's like an old sage. So I wanted to give her lots of lots of lines around her face, and she's mystical in a way as well too. So like I just wanted to have her be a little jowly, a little bit older, a little bit beat up. Have some of those lines. The more lines you put on somebody's face, the older they're going to look. So I wanted to have that feeling with her. And I'll probably do more of this with I'll show you what her other character design looks like. And it's important to remember your character designs. That ear is a little too thick. So I'll show you the page where she was originally appeared on, which is right down over here. So she has wider ears in this one, so I totally forgot that. So I gotta like go back and edit that. She has a very skinny neck. So we're gonna work with that, and she's got a couple of piercings, a couple of moles here and there. So I really want to make sure that comes out in this close up. I'm a big fan of Ren and Stimpy's close ups on the TV show. I know that John Crickfalusi is not somebody we want to idolize by any means, but there are other animators that worked on the show that I think deserve their due. And those close-ups from Ren and Stimpy are some of my favorite pieces of art out there in the animation world. So I definitely take a big influence off those with close-ups to be like, I want this to be like gnarly and kind of gross. Like she's not a gross person, but like age has been gross to her. So that's where we're going with this. And it might be also like something that like has to do with like magic as well. I don't want to like explain it too much, but there are definitely times when magic starts running its course and through your body, and in this world, it starts to take effect. So I'm liking where this is going. Like what I'm going to do is let my brush really take the lead, but I'm going to switch over to 6B at this point and really start hammering in some of these lines. That way, it's one of the best things in the world. This takes a lot more effort and a lot more time to do what we call a tight pencil. However, when you ink it, man, it's like the most satisfying feeling in the world. You're just like, yeah, I can't explain it really, but it is awesome. I just want to double check and go back to her face and see what I did for that nose. All right, it's a little bit wider. So I'm not doing like perfect lines, but I'm getting like the general feeling of it here. And with that, I'm giving more and more detail. And give her kind of janky teeth as well. And you can fill stuff in, or you can just take a space and put like an X there. Um, that allows you to tell if you have an inker to tell you like what spaces to fill in with black. But I'm a one man party here, so we don't have to worry about that. I do what I want. Give a little bit more thickness to that line because I want it to be standing out. Yeah, she's starting to come together. And I don't make smooth lines all the time, honestly. Like you can make your lines smooth, but I was like, I kind of like a little gnarliness, like just people's like if I feel my ear, it's not perfect, it's not a perfect circle, and I like to represent that in my art. And ears don't always line up, and weird stuff like that. And your body gets totally weird with age. I just want to make sure that that's shown off. Get those big old bags going. Yeah. You can always tell as an artist you're doing well when you're entertaining yourself. And I'm definitely like having a good time with this drawing. I'm going a little thicker with my lines than I usually would. But one of my biggest inspirations in comics is Mike Allred, and I've always loved his big, thick, bold lines. Mm-hmm. Starting to look pretty good, huh? Well, as a gnarly old person can look. But don't let her catch you calling her old and gnarly. She is not. She's not the lady to be trifled with. We'll put just a couple of hairs back here to accentuate that she's got her hair up, actually. And she's got this wacky split bangs kind of thing going on here. I like to do a little stippling here and there just to kind of give like age spots in there. I want to make sure I get that right there, that lip. She's kind of gnarly, isn't she? Still, like, this is like one of my favorite panels so far. I was like, man, this one's coming together nicely. I'm going to give her the old Spidey sense. And sometimes I'll fill those in, sometimes I won't. Um, it kind of just depends on how the panel calls for it. I kind of do want to put like, make some black over here to balance the panel out. And I think I'm going to do that because it'll look cool. And that's how I draw comics, is if it looks cool. So I'm going to leave a little mental note for myself. I'm just going to put some scratch in here, and we'll figure it out in the brush. But I think that gives it like a lot more weight, giving that extra black. Yeah, I can already tell I like it a lot more. So let's just fill it all in so I know what the hell I'm doing when I go to ink it. There we go. One panel done out of 5. Cool. And we are trucking along here. So the other thing I wanted to do is like kind of play with this panel as well. Get those fingers more defined. And get some light source defined as well. I was going to have it coming from the top left, so I can put some black shade over through here and kind of give them some weight as far as that goes. This is kind of like my favorite part of drawing sometimes, is just figuring out where my light source is going to come from. Like it's coming that way, right? And so his hair is already reflecting that. And I just want to figure out like how I can make this true to the rest of the piece. And there we go. And I might like honestly, like I might put some corn stalks or something like that behind them just to kind of, I can't help myself sometimes. Like I want to put backgrounds into things and have a whole, like a background's not a, they're traditionally in art, you think of foreground, middle ground, and background. I like to think of it more as an environment. Like because if I think of it foreground, middle ground, background, I'll want to slack on the background. And when it's an environment, I was like, no, everything has to be as important as the other piece. So when it's in a full environment, that's where I can kind of go wild with it and like make it a full thing. But I don't have any photo reference for corn stalks quite yet. So I'm gonna move over to this next panel over, go back to my HB pencil, and kind of start getting some of these shapes a little bit more defined. Nice thing about Procreate is you can hold things down and it'll make these nice perfect shapes. And some people are like, it's cheating. Well, like, who cares? I was like, look, I gotta make a comic. I can either worry about like what person X says, or I can make some sweet comics. I'd rather make some sweet comics. Because in the end, like, who's gonna know? Like, oh, look, he obviously made that with Procreate and made it perfect. And it's too good. Mm-hmm. Who cares? So I'm gonna Ted has extra long limbs, so I like to play with the hands as a gesture, kind of being like, "Oh, hey, this, how's that?" Um, Simply because I think it's how hands come alive, and I think from what I've heard, a lot of comic artists struggle with hands, and I think a lot of artists just struggle with hands. Um, but I like to make them my challenge, and like to be like, "Yeah, I can draw hands. Suck it, world." I can also draw little digging things. I forget what they're called. But he's also got like little tuft of fur there. And then I'm gonna draw shirt wrinkles there. I kind of tend to like scribble those up a lot because I like them like to have a little energy to them. I'm just giving like broad strokes at this point with my HB. And I want his hands to be kind of like life, a little like, oh. So then I'll start going over these and start like what we call like spotting blacks. See where I want to put the black on his. Because if the sun is coming this way to him, I want it to come this like the other way to him. So this way and then this way. So you can tell like it's an old movie trick. So with you know, whenever someone's talking to someone, they'll be on one character will be on the left hand side of the screen in the single framed shot, and on the other, then you go to the next frame shot, and the other person's on the right hand side, and so it gives you the illusion of them talking to each other. And so I have a little bit of that on here, um, but you still want to have your comics in a Z pattern to make it for easy reading. And I like that I can just scribble that on there and get rid of it. Like, he's mostly all in black anyways. I'll give a little bit more thickness to these lines. When you give more thickness to the lines on the other side, it gives the illusion of shadow and depth. I have to get a little bit of reference material for overalls. I'm like, how do they loop on with those little metal hooks? Whatever. I'll find it. And they always have like a little front pouch. I want to put some dirt on there. Make him all a little crusty and gross because he's been in the garden. They're starting to come together. This whole page is starting to come together, honestly. The last one is going to be. Usually I try to tackle the elephant in the room, which is the biggest panel with the most stuff in it. But this time I'm just like, we'll get to it. We're having fun tonight. And I'm going pretty fast at this pace. So it's like, man, I don't spend a whole lot of time penciling a page. I like to let my inkwort do most of the work. We've got a nice little hand right there. I'm filling in all this part so you can see, like, he's already like a character, kind of like Nightcrawler, like dressed in shadow. So even if, or like my cats, even if the sun's shining on them, they're still black. So I really wanted that to come out on here and really make it pop. I'm gonna try and check in on you guys in the chat because I don't think anyone's in there, but I might be wrong. Oh, there's Allison. Hello, welcome. So, all right, I'm keeping going. I'm gonna move this on, make sure. Oops. Up here comes my cat. You can't see him. Well, maybe you can. He's right in my face. But I'm gonna keep working. He's a good boy. I'm a really big fan of Alex Toth, and he used a lot of like gestural black in his pages. And if you haven't looked at his work, yeah, you absolutely should. He was a master, grumpy master, but a master. So I almost forgot to leave a little extra detail there. And I'm just going all over the place with my pencil. And put some more shadow over here. Put some shadow on the dirt as well. That way it has some weight. And we got good old Ted. I'm gonna make his one wing over here. Sorry about that. So I have his wing pattern memorized at this point. I want to hide the other one back behind here so I don't like cover up too much of it when he's talking. Give that a little bit more shadow over here, over yonder, some more over there. And this is always black whenever I fill it in. And sometimes I'll put some extra detail in his wings. It kind of just depends on how I'm feeling with that panel. Like with when I tend to leave out a background, I mostly try to get a lot more detail in my characters and also have something to do with the hands. Um, that middle panel being a big exception. So I'm going to fill this in over here, over yonder, over there, and over here. And we can see our whole page is starting to really come together. I should be able to start inking it tonight, but I want to get that middle panel addressed and rocking and rolling. So the other thing I have to do, and I might draw it on a separate background, is figure this background out. And drawing a line there to show that that's where that come on brain work. That's where that other house is. So we're gonna draw them talking by this house. So one of my least favorite things is drawing Ted from the side because he always just looks super freaking weird. I mean, he's the Mothman, so he's gonna look weird anyways. But you know what I'm saying. I was like, yep, this is a little weird. Gonna roll with it. Give him his extra long arms. Actually, I'm gonna have him dropping his little spade thing. Just a general sense of shock. Because he's kind of like, who in the living hell are you, lady? And he has two clawed feet. Sometimes I like to just break a panel just to see where they would stand if I didn't leave enough room for them. So he's pretty big on that panel right there. So I gotta draw his other leg. Put a little fur there for his little moth legs. If I was smart, I would have drawn them all in separate layers. Um, but I didn't do that. So here we are. But I might draw that background on another layer. And so I'm just making little squiggles to like make it evident that there's grass there. And I'll fill it in with my brush, lators. To make sure I've drawn this correctly before I start going full ham on them. I think I got the proportions right. Looks good. I'll taper those legs. Ted tends to dwarf everybody because he's nice and lanky and tall. Whereas, of course, my other character, Munoz, used to be a luchador. So I wanted him to have like some substantial weight to him. Excuse me. Sorry. No, don't want that expression. Nope, too cheerful. There we go. Just right. I wish I hadn't made his mullet so damn hard to draw. But here we go. So we're starting to see like this panel fully come into shape, and I'm pretty excited about that. I think I have his portions a little bit twisted, so I might do some more work on that. Just with his like left leg and his right leg, it's like he's twisted in just his torso, which might just work just honestly fine as far as body language goes. Um, and our little lady is squat, and she's about as tall. And put her little bun there. She's a little old decrepit lady. I want to give her a like bossy hands vibe. She has a little skull necklace because that's cool. Yeah, this is starting to come together, friends. And we've still got 20 minutes left on the stream. Kind of wild how fast I'm going, but I'm pretty happy with it. And I've got a little cat right here. I don't know if you can see him, but he's decided to plop down right next to my iPad and chillax with me. Let's get Mr. 6B out. Start making some of those lines a reality. I think I'm gonna keep the panel breaks because I don't know, panel breaks are kind of fun, honestly. And I always like whenever I'm drawing someone's clothing, I always put more lines around their waist because that's kind of where like a body bends. Just want to have more crunches there, and same with the knees. And I'm gonna put this in the shadows. Let me do some more back over here. A lot of time with the 6B, what I like is that it can be so chunky that it really helps me figure out like where I want black to live, and how I can. It's almost like sculpting in a way. You're just pulling the blacks out of the page, and it can be a little more impressionistic if I can be so bold. So he's kind of got a little beef with that lady since she's coming off so strong. But she's ultimately there for his good. There's his wings, all ready to rock and roll. There's no like rhyme or reason of where they connect either. I just have them basically like attached to his backside, and that's how it's gonna be. See, penciling is kind of like the most fun part, but it's also the most arduous part. Simply because like I'm having fun right now, but there are just definitely plenty times where I'm just like, oh, this page looks like ass. And I'll be honest, I just laid this page out like about 2 hours ago. Because I was gonna come in and finish inking the other page, but I'm pretty well done with it. So I was just like, well, let's get a new page going. Let's get everyone talking about this and show you my process from, the ground up on a page. Little zipper pocket there. Put a little. Something you always have to consider with this is where your horizon line is, and it's right where their necks are. It's right where Muno's neck is going to be. Oops. Let's make sure that I'm drawing accurate, like jeans and pants and that kind of thing. I like my characters to have that kind of believability to them. They're like, oh yeah, he's wearing a hoodie, he's wearing a breaker. Hands to the face. He's got some sweet sideburns because this takes place in the past. Can't forget that his hair is coming from the other side. Raucous. It's coming together. And we got about 12 minutes left. So let's get into our little old lady. Despite being so like haggard and crusty, like she's really some like I can't wait to show off her character a little bit more. She shows up late, that's for sure. But when she comes in, she makes this huge difference. I should just be using my 6B here because I already have her proportions cleaned out here, so to speak. I think her hand's like way too big. And one thing we need to do is go back and look at what she's wearing in the previous page. Because I done forgot. Okay, pretty simple. Get those lines nice and thick. Wanted to have like kind of like a crypt keeper finger, like yo, it's you. Give her little black old lady shoes. All right. We have most of a page penciled out. The only thing left is going to be that damn background. And I'm looking at it, and Muno's head might be a little bit big, so I might shrink it down a hair. But for the most part, I have page 35, something like that, done. I'm just going to ink it up this week and get to posting it on the internets. I'm still trying to figure out a good color palette for this whole series. I'll show you here real quick as we wrapping up. Like there's a few pages that I've done in color, and there's like they're meant to be a little bit more painterly, a little bit more dreamlike. But for the most part, the other thing I did was like some of the one of the flashback scenes I did with this like True Grit texture supply, which just makes it look awesome. It is such a cool vibe to have over here and have those pages come out looking like that. So I got to figure out a color palette here pretty soon. It's going to be something kind of like the main page, but you can see there's a good couple of places to go with it. I have one panel that I forgot to do on this one here, so I got to get that going. I got to put some blacks in there. Yeah, so I still got a pretty far ways to go with this book, but I don't know. I'm pretty proud of what I've done so far. I feel like my blacks and my whites are nicely balanced, um, as they should be. And I'm looking forward to doing what, like, I got 15 more pages left after this, 16, 17 pages after this to be done. And I want to get it done by March. So that's my goal. Um, and that's really like what comes after that is going to be a book about Yetis. So we'll see. I also have a book about my great grandfather that I'm working on in World War One. So I have two books to do after this. I'm hoping like I can get more done in 2024 because I've had this cryptid thing going on since 2020. Honestly, I've been working on writing this and rewriting it, drawing it and redrawing it. And now I'm at a place where I like this story and I like where it's going and I like how it's going to end up. And I'm just excited to get it in everyone's hands. So, with that, I'm going to check back in and see what's good. Cat head keeps popping up in the corner. Yeah, he's right here. Right here, aren't you, buddy? He's laying down, being a good boy. Being a very good boy. So, but that's all I have for this week. Super excited that Alice and Troy joined me to chit chat and talk about comics, as it were, and art, and doing some digital live art. This has been a passion project of mine for a while, and I'm excited to have it out there in the world, and excited for everyone who's been watching, and anyone who will be watching on the replay. Thank you. That's awesome of you to do, because I know like it's not easy to give up a full hour of your time to watch somebody draw, but hopefully it's therapeutic and relaxing, and because it is for me, and I feel like super accomplished with what I did tonight. So I want to put that out there and thank everyone. If you want to chit chat with me on the internet, you can find me at Zak Kinsella down in the bottom corner on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, as it were. Um, and yeah, I even have a Facebook page as well under Zak Kinsella if you want to. I just started using that again to promote this. So find me online, and really, I'm going to end it there. So take care. If I can. End stream.